One of my tenants last night lit their own apartment on fire. They literally went to the gas station across the street and then lit that on fire. Just another day in real estate, man.
Well, I don't know if it's another day in real estate. I think it's another day in that particular asset that you own. I mean, man, there's some things that have happened to that complex we can't even talk about on the show. I know there's the one more PG-13 where somebody was shooting somebody else. I mean,
yeah, that's the PG-13. Is someone shooting? They were shooting the guy that got a little too friendly with his teddy bear out on the balcony, if that's what you're referring to.
Well, I mean, who doesn't have relations with their teddy bear on a Saturday morning out on the balcony of your apartment complex?
Not me. Nobody I know.
Okay, let's talk about that. Gabe, you always impress me because I think a lot of people that are listening to this, first of all, don't be afraid of real estate. Don't run away because of this story. This is a unique property. This is a unique set of circumstances that Gabe got involved with some other operators. He had to take over. I'm in a similar situation, although I've not had these sorts of problems in my complexes. But I think that, okay, if this happened to Gabe, I would say when you're first starting out, you probably would have shit your pants, right?
I don't know. It's hard to know. I feel like I've developed kind of this thick skin. I mean, I've been in this game for 20 years. Most of the time, I'm just, we talk about all the amazing parts of real estate. I don't think this takes away from all the amazing parts of real estate. I believe in long-term buy and hold cash flow real estate. Yes, I ended up in this property by interesting circumstance, a bad partnership, and a lot of things went wrong. But there's been a few fires. I mean, we talk metaphorically, like in real estate, you're always putting out fires. Well, the week that I took over this property, I mean, it's a long story, but I went from 18% owner to 69% owner to 100% owner. The week I took over, one of the buildings caught on fire, right? Months later, this whole entire 47-unit apartment complex gets renovated. We have security cameras. The first couple days, security cameras are up. On video, there's a woman with a gas can dumping gas. Yeah. She's trying to light one of the other tenants' units on fire. Totally crazy. I mean, we've had some stabbings there, some shootings there, non-residents. And then, today, I get up at 6 a.m. I got a message from my property manager. He sends me the video and a news article. And it's like, I think I've developed kind of that thick skin of I know that I have great property managers, and these things that come up in real estate, you have some control, but like in life, there's some things you're just not in control of. I'm not going to let it I didn't let it ruin my morning, and I'm sure as hell not going to let it ruin my day. And long term, I'm not going to let it ruin this deal or this property either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point I was getting at. I think we always talk about mindset, and you sort of expand your mindset over time. Whereas when I first got involved with real estate, I remember I bought a duplex. I lived in one side, and then my tenants on the other side, it went vacant. They gave their notice to move out, and I panicked. That was, oh my gosh, I've lost half my income. Or there was a leak that leaked, I think a faucet leaked upstairs and leaked, whatever. And you're just so stressed out. But over time, you're like, the properties get bigger, the cash flow gets bigger. But with that, potentially, problems can get bigger. But if you're properly insured and you're mitigating risk, the upsides always outweigh the downsides if you buy right. But I do love, Gabe cracks me up. Most people, if they turned on the news and their 50-unit apartment complex was on fire, they wouldn't just chill out and go take a sauna and just get their day started like Gabe. But Gabe's like, just another Tuesday, man. Just, I've had guys running around with machetes in my mobile home parks and their tidy whities, and you roll with it.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, you want to make sure you have systems in place to take care of these things. Like, for one, I have a great property manager. They called the fire department. Yes, they sawed holes through my roof. And yes, they dumped thousands of gallons of water in there. And yes, that unit was on fire and now it's not. And it flooded the downstairs unit. So yeah, there's some things I got to think about. Like, do I want to pay out of pocket to repair this? Do I want to file an insurance claim? Like, there's some reasons I may or may not, right? But, nobody got hurt. The tenant downstairs, they got moved to another unit that was vacant and has been remodeled. So it's like, I call them oh shit moments. Like they happen in real estate, but I have other tenants that are good tenants that are paying rent. And because I own other real estate, like it actually mitigates that risk. And I won't let it ruin my day because it already happened, right? Like it's out of my control. And then once you realize like, okay, here's what happened. What is the next domino that needs to, get knocked down? What's the next thing that needs to happen, right? My property manager sends in a contractor. He's going to assess the damage. But yeah, the fire department got the fire stopped pretty quick. And before I was awake, this was like 3 a.m. OKC time, right? So it's like, what am I going to do? Fly out there and stare at the thing? No, I'm not. I'm going to, let the professionals handle it. I'm going to intervene where I need to, and I'm going to go about my day.
Well, that's the nice thing about larger properties. We're always talking about scaling to larger properties on the show. Start with a duplex, start with a house hack, or a single family house rental, get in the game. But then the true cash flow and the true ability to force appreciate assets and build meaningful wealth over time and meaningful cash flow that fuels a free lifestyle, in my humble opinion, is larger properties. That's when things really the needle started moving for me. And in this particular scenario, yes, larger properties give you more cash flow, they give you more upside, but they also allow you to put systems and people in place to handle things like this. If you owned a duplex or a single family house and that tenant lit it on fire, and that was your only asset, that would be a lot more stressful because you're the one that's handling it. You're bringing in the contractors, but you pay a property manager. You pay for insurance. And the cash flow off these larger assets is able to service the expenses for property management and insurance, the adequate insurance and those types of things. So larger properties, and I've always said this, even though we're just talking about Gabe's 50 unit just catching on fire, just one unit, by the way, but larger properties allow you to handle larger problems and take a sauna and chill out and go about your day.
Well, and it's interesting. Like I talked to my property manager this morning, and he's committed to the property, to the community, to the tenants. Like he's implemented some things like a community garden. He actually spoke to the news when they came out, and I thought this was interesting. He was like, "Look, we're doing so much. Like him and his team, they're doing so much to give this property a better image, right?" And so he said the news reporters were surprised he would talk to them, but he said, "Look, I want to explain to them that hey, this has been a rough property, but we're doing everything we can to turn this thing around." So like he's committed to that on such a high level and wanted to make sure that even the news reporters know, like, hey, this is one bad apple amongst, some good tenants that are actually trying to turn their lives around, that actually do want a safe, environment to live. And he wanted to make sure that, he painted the right picture going, hey, this is a group of lower income tenants, but most of them are taking care of their units, hopefully most of them, right? And they're doing things and implementing things for a safe environment. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I think a lot of property managers, a lot of people be like, I'm not talking to the media. He took the opposite approach and said, hey, look, we're trying to turn this area around. We're trying to turn this neighborhood around. We're trying to, turn this community around. And I thought that was actually pretty interesting. But that's how committed he is to this property in this area. Make it like really just making it a better place. And it's a commitment to me as an owner, like having somebody like that, boots on the ground, is why I'm able to, jump in the sauna and just kind of go about my day this morning.
Well, I noticed the news article didn't actually mention the name of at least the clip you sent me, didn't actually mention the name of the property. So maybe that's good. Maybe that doesn't really matter. I know you mentioned image. I think that's something that's often overlooked. So for those people listening and are thinking about all the ways you can buy an asset, because wealth is created when you buy a distressed asset. This is one way to create wealth: buy a distressed asset and make it better. Well, what are the ways to what are the ways to make a community better? Whether it's an apartment community, a mobile home park community, whatever the case is. Yes, you can improve the expenses, reduce expenses. You can increase income, offer storage units, raise rents, charge different fees for pets and vending machines. There's all a million ways, maybe not a million, but there's several ways to increase revenue. There's several ways to reduce expenses, and then you increase your profitability, and then the value of the property goes up 10 to 20 times for every annual dollar of profit you create. That's one way to improve a community. There's other ways to improve communities. And a big one that I think is often overlooked is image. And we don't talk about that enough. And I love that you brought that up, because think about this. Your clients or your tenants are your customers, right? Or your prospective customers when they're coming to maybe look at a unit or whatever the case is. And Mitch and I think about this when we're repositioning our mobile home communities. When you drive up to the property, what do you see? Do you see rundown trailers? Do you see a sign that's broken down and half the letters are missing? Do you see trees that are overflowing? Do you see grass that's big? I mean, some of these things are easy and cheap to fix. You can put a new sign in for a couple $1,000s. You can put some nice LED lights on it. You can put a nice fence up. You can get someone to start mowing the grass. You can fix the potholes in the road, right? So we always like when you're approaching the community, same with my apartment complex in OKC, you approach it. Are the curbs painted? Are the parking lots striped? And do they look nice? Is the office remodeled? Does the office look nice? Does it have nice decoration? Does it smell good? Right? When you walk up, is there a bunch of trash on people's balcony? And part of the image is physical. That's signage, that's lighting, that's roads, that might be a community garden, dog park, fixing the exterior of the property. In fact, I have a property right now where we're not getting the best tenants. And we realize it's because we need to fix the siding and we need to paint the property and we need to do some just exterior cosmetic stuff, which then improves the psychology of the property. And then you get better tenants that pay better rent, that stay longer, and that starts financially improving the property.
Yeah, we hear about it with like single family, small multifamily. You hear curb appeal. Like what are people seeing whether they're selling the property or whether it's a rental property, what's the first impression when someone rolls up? But commercial property, I think, is the same way. Like I'm doing this on one of my smaller mobile home parks in Idaho. There's still several park-owned homes. Now, most of my park, it's all tenant-owned homes and tenant-owned homes. They kind of take that pride of ownership, some of them upon themselves, and, they want to make their homes look nice. But the small park I have in Idaho, there's several park-owned homes. Well, one of those park-owned homes is right in the front. The tenant that was living there, they just hoarded stuff like on the outside of their property. Well, they wanted a bigger unit. They've been great tenants. They pay rent. They wanted the bigger units. So we actually had one of the park-owned homes go vacant, had it renovated, had it painted on the exterior so it looked nice, and we were able to move that family in there. Well, now we have this vacant front unit, but it's the perfect unit to create this level of, so-called curb appeal because it's the very first unit that everybody sees. But you used to roll into the park and it's like covered with garbage and junk and things, overflowing. So all of that got taken care of. But then, we were able to get the exterior of that unit painted. And it's in a lot of ways no different than a single family home. Like you want that curb appeal. You want it looking good when, potential new tenants roll in. And that's kind of just a easy strategy I've taken with, I think there's like six like park-owned homes there. We're just going to get the exteriors painted and, then we're going to see like, can we incentivize some of the tenants to actually clean up the exterior, some of the landscaping in their own homes. These are big lots. And those things are fairly inexpensive, but go a really long ways when we're talking about like the way someone feels that drives up that may want to live here.
Well, yeah, we always talk about it. It's like the bus stop, and when the kids are getting off the bus in front of our community, are they ashamed to walk into their community or do they feel okay about that? And we have a community in Texas where it's all tenant-owned homes and a lot of the homes don't have skirting. And so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say, you need to skirt your houses. You need to clear the junk off. You need to clean your porches and stuff. And some of the people don't have the financial means to do that. And it makes sense for us to go in and do it for them, to bring a crew in, to reskirt the homes, to power wash the homes, to help them out. Because when you want to get new tenants into a community and they see a bunch of rundown homes with broken up skirting, porches that are falling down, that signals that this is maybe a community that's not safe. It's a community that's not clean, and they'll move on. And same with this 50 unit or 45 unit that I have in Kentucky. We have a hard time getting good tenants. And so now we're going to fix the exterior, which doesn't directly correlate to a unit where you can charge more rent, but you're going to get better tenants. And man, just like everything in life, first impressions are everything. And to your point, you can drive a lot of value inexpensively by, like, we do junk cleanup twice a year. We bring in big roll-ups and we roll-offs, and all the tenants go out. We hire some people to help, maybe the older tenants, to help pull, to throw all their junk away and clean up the park, trimming trees. All those things are relatively inexpensive, and it really is a domino effect, right? Now the community, first of all, if you can show your tenants that you're investing in the community and you care, they're going to start caring about their own pads or their own apartment units, right? They're going to start taken a pride of ownership in the space they live. And then you're also going to attract better tenants that are going to come in that stay longer, less turnover. Maybe you can charge a rent premium in those communities, which all of these things are great. It's great for the tenant, but it's also great for you, the owner, because you're improving there is a direct correlation to improving the image of a community in the actual bottom line, the profitability that community generates.
Yeah, that's actually one of the very first things I do when I was purchasing mobile home parks. A lot of times, the previous owner just didn't implement or enforce some of these rules. So there would be just a lot of garbage, a lot of junk, tires, whatever, just left out. Instead of just saying, "Hey, we're gonna fine you for this," I kind of did the same thing that you had mentioned. We would have like on my dime, my property manager would go and say, "Hey, the new owner would like to provide this for the tenants. They're going to pay out of their pocket to bring these big dumpsters in, and you will have these 2 days or 3 days to put everything inside of there." And with our communities where there's older folks or some that are physically disabled, like we have also brought in the labor as well to help with that. And that goes a long ways because to your point, like the tenants are thankful. It's an opportunity for them to get rid of stuff. And then you can actually enforce, say, okay, if you're going to keep dumping this stuff, if you're going to keep leaving this stuff all over the place, look, we've already paid once to get like everything, kind of back to a fresh start, right? So now here's a fresh start. Like, please keep your yard this way. We're covering the cost this one time. And then property management can go and actually enforce some of these rules. But I think tenants really, really appreciate that. And it goes a long ways for very little bit of money.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about being a social capitalist, right? I think everything you do in this business or business in general, everybody needs to benefit, right? If you are improving a community, you're improving the lives for your residents, and you're improving the community, you're increasing the value of that community, you're increasing the cash flow of that community, you benefit, right? The bank benefits because whoever's holding the note, because they're getting paid and they're making money on interest. If you have investors investing alongside you, they're getting a return on their money. I feel like everybody has to win. And I think slumlords become slumlords or get a bad name because they siphon all the cash out of a community, put nothing back in, and then it goes into a maintenance spiral. Well, now the community doesn't look great, right? So now you're getting worse tenants. And then because you have worse tenants, you're getting either less occupancy or getting lower rents, which reduces the profitability of the property, which now you don't have money to continue investing in the property. And then you get worse tenants in who continue to beat up the property. So it's, and Mitch always says this, properties are either there's a spiral. They're either spiraling down. We call that sort of the maintenance slumlord spiral, or they're going up. When you're investing back in the community, you become well capitalized. You're adding amenities that maybe the residents appreciate. You're bringing better tenants in. People feel safer, and this is where people live. And I think there's a lot of people out there that invest and don't put back into the communities and put back into their tenants. And I think they're the ones that are giving landlords a bad name because it is a business and these are your tenants. And which means they're your customers, and your customers need to be taken care of. You need to provide a product for the rent that you receive, and that product needs to be safe, clean, and affordable, at least in the space that we live in. So, yeah, good nuggets of gold. All starting out with somebody lighting a fire. This is the second time someone has tried to light this apartment complex on fire. I'm glad that they didn't succeed, Gabe. And I'm assuming you're probably not going to renew that tenant's lease. I'm assuming maybe that's it.
He got arrested, so he is currently sitting in jail.
All right, well there you go. Buy properties, make them nicer, get better tenants, improve the bottom line, and it's a win-win for everybody.